Hey plant fam! Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Jaclynn. This is my jungle, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate you for still being here. And I'm really excited for today's video because we have another day of 12 days of Plantmas, and today is day 11. So it's officially Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas if you are watching this video and you celebrate the holiday. And of course, all of my love out there to anybody who feels a little bit lonely this holiday season. I hope that hanging out with me can help a little bit. So today I wanted to talk to you about one of my favorite plants, and it should not be surprising that this plant made the list because I'm obsessed with her. You guys are obsessed with her too. It is one of my favorite Hoya, just period. And I did a deep dive into where this particular hybrid comes from and who cultivated it, and it's a really cute story, so I'm excited to share it with you today. But first, of course, one of my Hoya Mathilde CV. Mathilde, technically it is a cultivar, so this one is actually a cross of Hoya serpens and Hoya carnosa. So it gets its cute little round leaves from the serpens, and then obviously they're a little bit more glossy and splashy, likely from the carnosa. Serpens can be pretty splashy as well, so it's hard to know which parent that comes from exactly, but this is one of my favorite hybrids, period, because serpens is really kind of a pain to grow. It's a very finicky type of Hoya. It has very specific care needs, and carnosa is the total opposite. It's like the easiest Hoya you're ever gonna grow. It's very hardy, very thick, and very, very robust and very forgiving. So to blend the two together is honestly genius, because anytime you throw in more hardy genetics into a plant that tends to be a little bit more finicky, you're going to get a hybrid that is usually a better growing plant, and that is exactly what the Hoya Mathilde is. So like I said, I did a little deep dive into the origins of this plant, and I found out that it was originally cultivated by somebody named Emilio. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, but I will leave it on screen. Give credit where credit is due. And he acquired the serpens and the carnosa at some point in his life, and then in the late 80s, he thought it would be interesting to start cross-pollinating some of the Hoya in his collection. So it was kind of just an accidental cross where he was just playing around for fun. And somewhere between 94 and 95 is when he was actually able to successfully get a seed pod and grow out some little seedlings from the batch. So long story short, he basically only ended up with 2 seedlings that were successful from the cross, one of which being the Hoya Mathilde, and the other one is actually the Hoya Chook or Choke. I never know how it's supposed to be pronounced, I'm not gonna lie to you. So I thought that that was actually a really interesting story, because I thought that the Chook or the Choke looked very similar to Mathilde, but it tends to not be as splashy, and the leaves do feel slightly different, but it is very apparent that they are related, and it turns out that they actually come from the same exact parent plants. So serpens carnosa were crossed by Emilio at some point in the early 90s, and then we ended up with the Hoya Mathilde and the Chook Choke, because I don't know how you're supposed to say it. So I thought that was a really fun and cute backstory. He was located in Sweden at the time, which is not where they natively grow, of course, but he was just growing these in his personal collection and kind of accidentally made Mathilde, which I'm not mad about because she is one of my absolute favorites. She trails beautifully. If you want to put her on a trellis, she will do absolutely great on a trellis as well. She blooms very easily for me, and her blooms are very beautiful. So 10 out of 10 recommend this one if you have not snagged it yet. The care on her is super duper easy. She wants bright and direct light. You don't want to give her too much light because she will start to bleach. You can see some of these leaves are a little bit lighter. So if you want to maintain that real nice dark deep green color, you're going to want to make sure you're not giving it too much light, but you also want to make sure you're giving it enough light that it can grow and thrive and bloom for you, because your Hoyas are not going to bloom for you if they're not happy and healthy, unless you've got death blooms. That's a different scenario, but we're not going to talk about that today. So Hoya Mathilde, she likes her bright and direct light just like most Hoya do, and watering her is super easy. She is very forgiving. Her leaves are very, very thick, and you can tell honestly just by looking at them and touching them. Like right now, they are very, very turgid, and that is how I know that I just recently watered her. She will get wrinkly. Do not let her go so dry. Don't let any Hoya get so dry that it's wrinkly. It's not good for the roots. Hoya have very delicate, fine roots, and you have to be very careful because you can kill them very easily, and then you're left rerouting your whole entire plant. So watering on her, water when dry. Love when people say that. It's so confusing, but you want to make sure that you're not leaving her dried out for too long. Most Hoya do appreciate a little bit of a dry period, so I tend to let her go dry for a couple of days before I water her again. That is going to depend on your environment, of course, and what you have her potted in. So my environment in this space sits at about 75 degrees Fahrenheit and 60% humidity on average, sometimes higher, usually not any lower. I don't let the humidity drop below 60% in here for an extended period of time. If I leave the door open or the window open, it does tend to drop just a little bit, but it gets back up there very quickly because this is a small space and there's a lot of plants in here, and plants kind of just naturally will create a more humid environment if you group enough of them together. So I don't think that humidity is necessary to grow this plant. You can absolutely grow her in ambient. I used to have her just growing in my living room. If you guys remember, the shelves behind me in Connecticut were just out in my living room, and the humidity in that space was atrocious. It was like 20-30% majority of the time, unless it was obviously the warmer season, and this plant did absolutely fine. So I don't think that humidity is a necessity for her, but it is going to make her a little bit happier. So I maintain that with a lot of houseplants, to be honest with you, that I don't necessarily think that high humidity is necessary to grow them, but the extra humidity is appreciated by the plant, and it may reward you with even more growth. So keep that in mind. Temperature, obviously you don't want to let these get too cold or too hot either. And then of course it matters what you have it potted in. Hoya love a chunky soil mix. This one's not in a clear pot, so I actually can't even show you, but I do just have her in a catch pot. Love this pot. And she is in a pretty decently chunky mix. Hoya love to be in a chunky mix because, again, they have very delicate roots and their roots like to get aerated. You don't want dense soil or moisture sitting too close to the root ball on your Hoya for too long. That is going to be a recipe for root rot, but also you don't want to dry rot your plant either. So a nice good chunky soil mix is going to be the way to go when you're growing these. They are epiphytic. They do like to grow on trees. So you have to keep that in mind when it comes to growing your Hoya and making sure that the roots are well taken care of. So again, I like to let her trail, but you absolutely can put her up on a trellis because they do like to climb. And she would look cute on a trellis, but I just love her in a hanging basket. I also have like a few much larger hanging baskets of Hoya Mathilde. This is my personal plant right here. And these, I have a few mother baskets that I propagate for my shop. But Hoya Mathilde, 10 out of 10, recommend her. Honestly, you can't go wrong with her. If you're getting into Hoya and you're not sure where to start, this is kind of a no-brainer, especially if you want something a little bit more interesting and not just a regular carnosa. A carnosa hybrid is going to be a really, really fun place for you to start, and I think you're going to have a lot of success with this one, and you're going to love watching her bloom. You could see one of her peduncles right here. Peduncle is where Hoyas bloom from. So you don't want to cut those off. It will keep reblooming from the same peduncle over and over again. And fertilizing these is pretty important. I feel like people don't talk about how important it is to feed your Hoya. Hoya love to foliar feed. And I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I'm looking for it. I can't see it. I think I left it out by my Hoya cabinet. But Urban Gardener Super Growth Elixir is going to be your holy grail. I put it in the water when I water, and then I also use the spray version, which this is just the refill bottle for the spray bottle, and I spray the foliage. Hoya love to foliar feed, and they love this product. Ever since I started using this product, my Hoya have taken off for me. They absolutely love it. I do use it on all of my plants, but Hoya specifically love to foliar feed. So if you're not foliar feeding your Hoya, you are definitely kind of, it's not a bad thing, but it's like not taking your vitamins, you know? Like you're leaving gaps where there shouldn't be gaps. And if you would just fill those gaps, then the plant overall would be a lot healthier and happier. So propagating these ones is also really, really easy. Again, just like any other Hoya, you're gonna wanna cut in between the nodes, and you're gonna wanna make sure that you at least have one node to grow from. So everywhere that you have leaves, they have little petioles, and where the petiole meets the stem, you have a node. So everywhere that we have a set of leaves here, we have what is considered a node. So you want to make sure that when you propagate your Hoya that you have at least one node. So you can stem propagate them. They will root from the stem, but the growth will only come from a node. So make sure that you have at least one of those. And I like to honestly root these in water. They root really quickly for me in water, especially if you throw in some growth hormone or throw in some pothos cuttings, which release growth hormone naturally. And then once I see a little bit of root, I will move it over to like a moss perlite mix and leave it in there until it's fully rooted. And then I'll put it back either in the original pot, if that's what I plan on doing, or potting it into a separate plant. So I love propagating this one. It's super easy, super hardy. You honestly cannot mess it up unless you just like neglect the cutting completely and don't put more water in. I have a bad habit of not refilling the water in my water props. As I look over there to my linearis in her green, nasty algae water that needs to be cleaned. Don't be like me. Be better than me. Take my advice and do the opposite. But anyway, propagating this is super duper easy. I think that this is a really great beginner Hoya. It's really beautiful, and it's not your traditional common pubicalyx carnosa type of plant. So if you're looking for something a little bit more interesting, this is definitely going to be the Hoya for you. Plus, look at how cute she is. Isn't she adorable? I'm trying not to let if I get too close to the screen, I'm working on it, you guys. 2025, we're gonna have a way better setup, so I'm excited for that. But anyway, Hoya Mathilde, isn't the story about her so stinking cute? I'm glad that I looked into it. I'll actually leave the link to the website down below where I got all the information if you want to read more into it yourself. It was a really interesting little document to sift through. So Hoya Mathilde, CV Mathilde, because she is a cultivar. When you see CV, it stands for cultivar, which just means that she was cultivated and does not exist naturally out in the wild. So Hoya Mathilde, you need it. If you don't have it yet, you need it. And I will be propagating mine very, very soon. So if you don't follow me over on Palm Street, you absolutely should. I don't know what you're waiting for. I'll leave it linked down below for you. Come hang out. I've got all the Hoya, all the Anthurium, and we have a lot of fun over there. So That's it for this video though, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you found it educational and entertaining, and I hope that you're having a beautiful day wherever you are out there in the world. I hope that you're enjoying your time with your family, and if you are not with family, I hope that you are enjoying your time hanging out with me. So I love you guys so very much. I hope I see you again for the next one, the finale. It's gonna be a good one, so stay tuned. Okay, bye.